Alright, so we are up here in the Idyllwild area, and the plan for the day is to attempt to hike to the peak of Mount San Jacinto via the Deer Springs Trail. The snow should be melted at the peak by now, or at least not, like, mostly off the trail, but the most recent snow report for the trails is from the middle of March or middle of April. I'm already drawing a blank on that one. The point is, it's from a while ago, so we're not sure, but that's the plan today. Well, as you can see, it's a beautiful day on trail here. If you can kind of see that cloud right there in the background, we drove up through that to get here, and that drive is a little bit sketchy, but definitely worth it because it is absolutely beautiful today. So it's gonna be a good day. If the hike goes as planned, it'll be about 19.5 miles, so long day, but it'll be fun. So I know I'm probably going to be driving my partner a little crazy today because I'm also working on an assignment for my plant taxonomy class while we're up here, and basically we have to find an attempt to identify some gymnosperms, and gymnosperm means naked seed. So gymnosperms are seed plants, but they don't produce flowers. So they're things like pine trees, cycads, all that jazz. So they basically produce cones. And one way you can kind of tell pine trees apart from one another is that their needles will grow to specific lengths and grow in specific little like clusters. So the one that we're looking at here, I just looked at for my assignment. It's got fairly short needles that grow in, it looks like clusters of 5. And then before this one, like 2 minutes prior, I had looked at another one with much longer needles that grew in little clusters of 3. So that's just a fun, cool, nerdy thing. And I apologize in advance to my partner because I'm going to be stopping and taking photos with my little red velociraptor figurine. So, yeah. So far, we're like not even a mile into the hike, I don't think, but so many things are just in bloom and it's absolutely beautiful. Like, I mean, look at these little bluish flowers. Also, the other flowers that are really cool are these little pink ones. Not entirely sure what species we're looking at. I'm not great at identifying plants. My specialty is definitely reptiles. But they're really cool. And they're lovely. My instinct is to say it's manzanita because they have kind of, it's a shrub with kind of that reddish woody growth, but do not quote me on that. But I will try to look it up when I get home and see if I can figure it out. We've been on trail for about an hour-ish. Now I'm just kind of needing to sit and take a little bit of a break. I have to pretty much after every little incline stop and catch my breath because my lungs aren't exactly the best. And that's just a combination of unfortunate genetics and previous illness. I actually had COVID back in like December, January-ish, so holiday time, and my lungs just haven't really been the same since then. But I thought this was a good time to just kind of remind people to be nice to yourself, and if you feel like you need to take breaks more than other hikers, literally nobody cares, and you need to do what's going to be best for your body. But that's just a little PSA. Otherwise, like, it's beautiful, the weather's nice, there's a little breeze off and on, and we have a fun little spot to kind of watch a fun little tree squirrel playing in his tree. I would turn the camera around and show you, but he's currently in the tree where I don't think my camera will pick it up, so yeah. It's just a lovely day out here around the San Jacintos and in the wilderness. So we are coming up on our first little junction here that marks about 3-ish miles of our hike. Mount San Jacinto Peak is about 7 miles to our left. I apologize if I sound a little out of breath. I am, again, like I mentioned before, not the best lungs. Oh, there's a lizard on that log, and that is exciting. So we're gonna try to creep up and see if I can get a better view of him, because I am a fan of lizards here. Lizards are great. Lizards make me happy. Oh, okay, bye, lizard. I scared him. Whoopsie. My bad. So, like, that way would be the trail out to Suicide Rock. Lovely little view. But we go this way, back towards more of a climb. Just take a look at that view. Granted, the camera does not do it justice, but it's just so cool kind of being above the clouds and not even really seeing the valley below. Because below us we'd be able to see like deserty biomes down there and stuff, and just all of that is completely obscured by the clouds. Definitely kind of hope that that burns off a bit on our way back down, because chances are we'll be driving back down around the time it's starting to get dark. And that is not going to be a fun drive back down through the cloud, but that is future Morgan and future Ethan's problem. So I'd hate to be those people. So we just stopped for a brief potty break, and I have been fascinated by these little lichens that are growing everywhere. At least I'm fairly certain they're lichens. If they're not, forgive me. But if they are, remember, lichens are not plants. They are cool little organisms that are essentially a relationship between fungi and moss. I mean, look at how cool these things are. Just kind of growing on that tree like nobody's business. And they are everywhere right now. Whoops. Did not mean to scare you, little squirrel. And behind the rock you go.
Not sure which way to go.
Okay, so we just stopped for lunch, which was delicious, and now I feel like we should chat about pine cones for a second, because they are everywhere. So you can see here that like where we're sitting, we have pine cones from obviously 2 different species. So all these big cones that you'll see lying around on the ground, they're all examples of female pine cones. So conifers like pine trees produce both male and female pine cones. The male pine cones are very, very small and tend to fall apart very fast after their purpose is spent. That's kind of what this thing is, and you can see they kind of disintegrate when you touch them. So the male pine cone, their entire purpose is just to release the pollen. And plants are effing weird, and they have a kind of this life cycle where one phase is called a gametophyte, where it's haploid. The other phase is the sporophyte, where it's diploid. You, as a mostly normal human person, I am assuming, are probably more familiar with very large plants. So like trees here that are the sporophytes, so the diploid generation. And diploid just means you have 2 copies of the chromosomes. So when you're thinking about plants, the pollen itself is the gametophyte. So it is the haploid generation. And right now I'm just rambling on and being annoying for anyone that doesn't want a bit of a bio lesson right now. But eventually we'll get into more depth in this in my Bio for Beginners series when we get into plant stuff. So I digress on the haploid, diploid, gametophyte, sporophyte thing, because I am certain that some people are going to be a little confused by it, and I completely understand. Point being, the female pine cones, within each of these little scales, it'll house the female gametophyte. The pollen will pollinate it, the egg will get fertilized, and then the little seeds will form inside the scales. And then when the time is right, usually it takes a couple of years for the female pine cone to mature. That also, it depends on species. Larger pine cones may or may not take longer. Some species even produce resins in their cones so that the scales don't open up until after fire. And then some female pine cones are actually very, very small. Sequoias and redwoods, actually, very surprising to people, produce very small cones. But yeah, it's cool. I think it's cool. And then squirrels and other critters will feed on the seeds of the pine tree and kind of bury them away in caches for winter, but squirrels are notoriously forgetful, and of course some of those caches they won't eat, and then the seeds will germinate, and then voila, brand new baby pine tree eventually, and hopefully that one will also grow and then produce its own cones. So pine cones are cool. I'm not really going to try to identify which species these pine cones came from because I'm bad at identifying plants, and I just think pine cones are cool. So yeah, we're going to pack up lunch in a second here and continue on our hike. Also, a little PSA for you guys: if you're putting a salt and vinegar potato chip in your mouth, don't sharply inhale. You will end up inhaling salt and you will be sad. No particular reason I'm mentioning that to you guys. Just heed my warning on that one and manage your inhaling and chip consumption wisely. All right, so we're coming up on the next major junction. Funny story, this is where I had initially planned on taking our lunch break, but I mean, blood sugar and things don't always go as planned, but whatever. Our spot was nice, and I got to rant at you guys about pine cones. Or I guess not really rant, but if you're watching this far into the video, you got some pine cone knowledge, and I'm not sorry. You're welcome. That's for free. So, yeah. Fun little sign, and we are heading towards San Jacinto Peak. We've got about 5.5 miles to go, and from this moment for a little while, we will officially be hiking on a section of the Pacific Crest Trail, which is super exciting, because if my life goes to plan, hopefully I will get to through hike the Pacific Crest Trail next year-ish, hopefully, but life doesn't usually go how I plan, so we'll see. Look at the view. Clouds are kind of burning off, but not a whole lot. It's just so pretty. I know video doesn't do it justice. So for anyone wondering if there's still snow in this area, the answer is yes. Not a whole hell of a lot, I mean. But we've only really just hit a little bit. I'm sure there's more pockets of it further up the trail as well. But yeah, the answer is there's still snow in this area. So remember what I said earlier about there not being a whole lot of snow on trail? Evidently I lied to you. As of right now, we're officially no longer on the PCT, but we are headed towards the peak. We got about 3-ish miles to go, but snow. So we're not at the peak yet. The snow on trail gets a little sketchy in portions and admittedly did slow us down. There's some fallen trees and stuff as well. It's like 3:45-ish right now. I'm estimating we're close to about 2 miles from the peak, but we need to set a hard limit at this point, and if we're not at the peak by 5 or 5:30, we kind of have to turn around, which is fine. Like, we didn't know for sure if we were going to make it to the peak or not, so it's not a big deal. Our goal was just to come out and hike a bit, and like, my knee popped weird, and remember when you're out hiking to listen to your body, and don't be upset if you have to turn around before you get to the destination that you were planning on, because it's better to be safe. Okay, so the trail is through this snowbank, over that down tree, and the rest of the trail is also through snowbanks and down trees, because if you can kind of see up the hill, that's pretty much all it is. We've had a lot of storm systems in the Southern California area since January, and clearly the snow is not gone from the area. It's May 2nd, but it's still early spring. We are in the mountains. We're really close to the peak, but I have a bad knee. Technically, both my knees are iffy at best. But the one is already bothering me, and frankly, this is a hard limit for me. There's already been a couple of sketchy snowbanks that I didn't know for sure I was going to be comfortable with, but this is where that whole listen to your body thing comes into play, and I'm local to the area. Like, it's an hour drive for me to get to this trailhead. So for me, I can try this again, and honestly, my partner and I are probably going to come back in the fall when it cools off again, but before the snow really hits. It's just, I'm at a moment where I need to turn around, and there's no safe way for me personally to get over the tree. So here's your PSA: trust your body and don't take risks you're not comfortable with. Sure, could I probably get over this little roadblock and get to the peak? Yes. The prideful part of me is saying, bitch, do what you need to do, get to the fucking peak. The reasonable part of me that is what I'm learning to listen to more is saying, this tree is much too high, and the snow, you don't actually know how deep it is, so I'm not even willing to walk up and around, because it looks like it's just boulders. And since I can't see what I'm stepping on, that's a recipe to break my ankle. And I would like to not go to the hospital tonight. So we're going to turn around, which is fine. Like I said at the beginning, I had no idea what snow conditions really were, because the most recent snow reports that I can see are from March and April. And that it's kind of useful, but when you're in the mountains and in the wilderness, conditions can change from one day to another. But honestly, there's a lot more snow than I was expecting. I was looking on All Trails, and there's like a couple of reviews from a couple weeks ago. One saying that just north of the Strawberry Creek Junction, they had to turn around because there's too much snow on the ground. And another one saying, oh, we were fine. We had trekking poles and micro spikes. The snow really wasn't that bad. So as you can see, it also depends on the comfort someone else is at. Normally I'd be fine with this trail. Like, it's steep, but not too freaking steep. And it's been a lovely hike today, but my knee is saying this is gonna land you in the hospital, and I'm not really cool with that. So we're gonna turn around and go back that way through that snow. So wish us luck. I'll probably wish you all adieu with the car, but if I don't, I hope you enjoyed this little hike. And remember, if you're out right now, especially in like these mountainous areas, listen to your body. And if you're getting into an area where you don't know for sure you're equipped to deal with, like this area, please stop. Please return. Don't push yourself further, because if you get hurt in the wilderness, that can be a very big deal, and nobody wants to do that. So be safe, listen to your body, just have fun when you're out hiking. Have fun, have a nice day, enjoy what you're doing, but don't be hard on yourself if you have to turn around earlier than you were expecting. I was already, frankly, expecting not to make it to the peak today. I was fairly certain there would still be too much snow for me to make it to the peak. I have trekking poles. I don't have an ice axe. I don't have micro spikes, because I don't do winter hiking really, since I'm not used to it. And I usually hike in trail runners. I have hiking boots. I just haven't worn them for a while. So I'm going to stop rambling. And if I don't cut in anymore or film anymore, please like, comment, subscribe. Are you hiking right now? Where have you been hiking? What are conditions like where you are? Pop them in the comments down below. I know I've done a few hiking vlogs from Joshua Tree, but unfortunately desert season's pretty much over, so I'll be up in the mountains more frequently now. But that's the cool thing about California, is I have so many options. But I want to hear about trails around wherever you are. That'll be fun. That'll be exciting. Keep the conversation going. And if I don't say anything else, I'll see you all in the next one. If I do say anything else in this video, bonus seconds. Toodles. Thank you again for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell if you would like to see more. And if you'd like to follow me on any of my other social medias, the links are down in the description below. Don't forget to check out thereptilegoth.com for all of my articles and blog posts. If you found any value in this video and you would like to help support the channel, please check out my Patreon page. That link is also in the description down below. And a special thanks goes out to my Diamond Dragon patron, Diane V. What you're doing is really helping me fund a dream here. I will see you guys all in the next one.